Evening, folks. Brian here. Tuesday, December 3, 2024. Before I call it quits for the night, I would like to share with you two of my favorite Bible verses from Luke and how I believe they pertain to events now or soon will be. I'm going to start off with Luke chapter 21, verse 25. There will be signs in the sun, the moon, and stars, and here on the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity by the roaring and the tossing of the seas and the changing tides. Otherwise, from the gravitational effect, earth wobble effect from the approaching star system, wormwood, and by all the other names, Planet X. It follows in verse 26, people will faint from fear and terror, apprehension on what is coming on the world. For the heavenly bodies will be shaken. People will be terrified at what they see coming upon the earth, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. In my interpretation, meaning, we will know just beforehand of its manifestation, its appearance, waiting in anxiety, anticipation, and fear, and many will die from fear and panic. So first, in Luke 25, it describes what's going to be happening to our planet with the approach of the wormwood star, Planet X, the gravitational effect, the roaring and the tossing of the seas and changing tides, the ocean's inundations. For nations will be in anguish and perplexity. Then, as wormwood begins to make its appearance, people will be fainting from fear and terror. Now, they silenced Mr. Robert Harrington, who they appointed to locate and track the Planet X system. But when he spoke out too much, he's developed sudden pharyngeal or throat cancer, sudden onset throat cancer. They silenced him. But they can't silence the words that have already been written and what Jesus has already told us and his apostles, the signs to watch out for and what's going to be happening. Just today alone, people, just today alone, when I post earthquakes in diverse places, I'm only showing you a small fraction. There's so many happening right now. Just today alone, the seismic events globally. French Guiana, deep earthquake. You never have deep earthquakes there. You never have earthquakes there, period. Off the shore of Buenos Aires. Several in the South Indian Ocean between Australia and Africa. And all of a sudden, an uptick in Australia again. Marianas, Vietnam, India. Some new ones between Honolulu and Molokai. You don't have earthquakes there. You do now. And so on. Going back to my previous post on the 1938 Mars attacks, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to Mr. John Moore, a very well-respected researcher into the Planet X system, Mr. Moore, who is a former Vietnam Green Beret Special Forces, PSYOPs, Middle East intelligence, former homicide detective, who spent, I believe it was 28 years research. In one of his articles in 2008, he wrote, "It is far easier to implement martial law if the population is already under lockdown," as he stated, from a pandemic. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation hosted Event 201, a tabletop exercise involving governments, military, financial, etc. And what would happen, what they would do if there was a global pandemic. A few months before they released the agent, he took that from the novel by Dean Koontz that he wrote in 1981. And in that novel, he wrote exactly what was to happen in around 2020, and from where, Wuhan, and so on. Maybe that plan didn't work. Maybe it did, because they managed to introduce a substance into a fair number of the population. They have to keep us distracted or confined through a psyop, in my opinion. I found it very strange. I read these news reports and other YouTubers about these strange orbs or drones or something the size of cars over New Jersey. That's where the War of the Worlds radio broadcast started from. Do you think maybe they've been taking that from that? Huh? Setting you up? Everything is about 2025. I've gone through this video several times. Everything they say is going to happen by 2025. Major cyber attack, loss of the internet, next pandemic, war with China, and so on and so on and so on. To reduce the population to manageable levels. When it comes to reducing the population, in the first half of Tribulation, by at least Revelation 6, power will be given to him to take the life of 1/4 of the earth based on the current population numbers of 8 billion people. That means 2 billion people have to die between now and the emergence and identity of the Antichrist. So many people like to cherry pick what they want to believe and just shove the rest aside, not realize it, not believe in it. Well, who's the Antichrist? Ooh, what's the mark of the beast? Ooh. He's already told us through the beginnings of the sorrows and the birth pains, the wars and the rumors of the wars, and the kingdoms against kingdoms and nations against nations against nations, the pestilence and the famine and the earthquakes, devastating earthquakes in diverse places. And through all this, 2 billion people will be dead. And then later in Revelation 9, another 1/3 of the world's population. Before the Antichrist comes on the scene, we will have to have lost so much lives, devastation, starvation, falling into desperation and dissolution, begging for someone to save us. Then he will arise, seen as a person of saviorship, falsely so. And for the people who think the mark of the beast is some sort of ID card in your wallet or a smart app phone or RFID chip inside your hand, you know nothing. The mark of the beast is first and foremost exactly that, a mark to be displayed on the right hand or on the forehead by his name or the number of the beast, and to worship the idol made of him. It is first to renounce God and mandatory worship of the beast. That is the mark. Secondary, then so you can partake in economic use, which most of the people are going to gladly submit to because they've just gone through all this horror and starvation. Most people, in their weakness and great losses, will accept that. When you look at what's happening right now, earth changes, geopolitical, falling away of the church, lawlessness, lack of caring for one another. The war is about to kick off. Then Luke 25 and 26 come into play. Say they know. They may not be spiritually connected, but they know about the binary system inbound. I think that timeline has been moved up. Which is why they have to knock off most of the population. Start coming out with some psyops. Another 1938's War of the Worlds, maybe. That is all.